We talked about identity in the first month of the season. I think we both agreed this team was looking for it. Have they found it to a degree through 3 games here in November, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think it's pretty early to say. They needed an identity. They didn't know what their identity was. I still don't think they necessarily do. Sometimes it takes a while to find that, and sometimes it happens organically. You don't know what your identity is, and then all of a sudden it comes. Sometimes you're just a hot start team that just takes control of a game, and then all of a sudden you're just trying to not relinquish that. Sometimes you're a team that just constantly gets behind the 8 ball, but nobody panics. And then you know that in that third period, boom, 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 you just take over games and shock the group. And it's not something anyone sets out to do as a group, but it's just kind of organically what happens. So, their identity is a high offense team with the capability of scoring in bunches. But we know that doesn't win Stanley Cup. So I want, them to be focusing on team first, effort above all, everything to the outside. Defensive strategy has got to be solid, and they got to work together, and everyone's got to buy in. And then, their identity naturally will be their firepower on offense. So I like the way they've been playing lately. And if they find that as something they can access all the time and create an identity and have that consistency, then right on. That's a great identity to have. So time will tell is my answer. It's yet to be seen what their identity is.
I think they're starting to form it a bit. I will be honest, the one guy who has really, really impressed me the last couple games is Dennis Malgin. I think after a really good preseason, he had a so-so start to his regular season in October, and I think he's really starting to play with pace and jam, and you see why Toronto was high on him and bringing him back into the mix. And I think the offense that he can provide, the skill level, the ability to move up and down, and the last couple of games, especially on the weekend, I thought he made a difference. And quite frankly, I think he was maybe the most noticeable player in that win against Carolina on Sunday. Like it really is a good development. But again, as having played in this league, consistency is probably the one thing that sets players apart, right?
Yeah, 100%. But the big thing is, you know who you are as, like, when you say who are the Toronto Maple Leafs, who's on that team, all the big names that come out to you right away. So
Yeah.
they're there. That's great. You're paying them so much bloody money. That's obvious. Those are the guys that, but what really, when rubber hits the road on what's going to actually make a quality team come playoffs, is those depth guys and those
Hmm.
core group of guys that are going to chip in, like you say, and a guy like Malgin who can come in and play different roles. And yeah, you're going to be the whipping boy sometimes when things aren't going well. You might get yanked out of the lineup or thrown around the bottom six a little bit and be put in positions that you weren't necessarily wanting to be. But if he can produce like that, and if he can be a factor in games, you need that big time. So it's great to see that they have a guy that can contribute. And Kerfoot's I think, been really solid. Again, I've mentioned it before, I want more out of Engvall, but you get guys like that. Camp has been really solid on that fourth line. Like, what a great fourth line center who's just super reliable, can
Yeah.
wear a lot of different hats, and then he's chipping in offensively already too. You get those guys to start being a factor in games, and then it takes the pressure off the Marners and
Hmm.
Matthews and Johnny T's and Nylanders and stuff, because all those guys aren't going to be firing every single night and aren't going to be capable of winning games on their own, nor should they be. That's not how a team operates. So I love seeing it, man. And you're totally right. He was a factor in the last weekend here, and you noticed him, and he's contributing to winning games, and it's awesome to see, because that depth is super important, I think.
Even your guy, Zach Aston Reese, has made a bit of an impression in my world. But again, these guys are going to be scratching and clawing all season long. Nicolas Aube-Kubel was put on waivers in the last time we spoke. He's now Washington Capital. Like it's next man up, right? And I think it's going to be a season long effort to find what sticks and what works in time for the Stanley Cup playoffs, right?
Yeah, for sure. That's what the regular season is. Everyone's trying to accumulate points, find out who they are, put themselves in the best position, and it all comes down to the playoffs, right? So obviously that's this team's heel. It's been a disaster in the playoffs every single year for as long as many
Hmm.
fans can remember. So, it's nice to see a lot of hopes and dreams are hung on this team right now, because a lot could change next summer. So it's nice to see they're putting it together in the right ways. It's not Matthews getting 4 goals every night to win games. It's just not sustainable. The wins they have accumulated seem to be team wins, and those guys are stepping up, like you say, and the Stars are doing what they need to do. Johnny T's just had a phenomenal start to the season, and eventually, he'll probably cool off a little bit, and then it'll be Marner's turn to step up. And that's the great thing about having all those guys on the same roster, is that's a capability they can do. And it's just all about getting that full team chemistry, man. And it looks like they've found it, and they'll have a stutter step. They'll fall off again, and
Yeah.
people will be pissed off. Well, why aren't you playing like you did that week? And it's not always going to be there, but it's nice that they're starting to put pieces together. And, I'm patiently just waiting for this team to do its thing. And I just have faith that come playoff team, this is a group that can get it done. And I'm not going to put any more pressure on them that they already have by freaking out every time they have a stutter step. So that's my approach to it. That's what I think works best in my experience. And I don't know. What else can you do? The alternative is shit, man. Like freaking out every time they drop a game, and hallelujah, why don't they do this every time when they have a good one? It's not really sustainable, and it's enough to lose your hair over. And it's just not the way to go through an entire season. It's too damn long, man.